is up, Rasmanites? Well, today's episode is dedicated to my pal Zarin Isaac. Why? Because it centers around everything that he and I have been talking about together as friends for like a solid month. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, come on. You guys and gals are a smart bunch. What did we talk about last time? The Avengers, right? We made ours Marvel, right? So today has to be DC. Specifically, my two favorite superhero worlds of all time. The Dark Knight, lit by in brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light on the Razman's reality. That is right. Today we're going to be talking about all of the recent pickups that I have surrounding Batman and Green Lantern. And we're going to talk about some very frustrating stories. So, this year I wanted, as you probably have been able to pick up from the updates, I wanted to, sorry for Toby right there if you heard him, and throughout. But as you probably picked up through the updates, this year I wanted to make it all about stuff in the collection that had just been sitting there unfinished and really needed to be focused on. So that meant updating everything that really mattered to me. And of course, Batman and Green Lantern are right at the top of that list. So, when it comes to Batman and Green Lantern, there's one thing that you really have to stay on top of, and that is the DC Universe animated films. So, I made a bulk order, a mass order, from BestBuy.com because they were out of the films that I wanted. And this is where the frustration sets in, because BestBuy.com messed up my order. Messed up the order because they didn't send me the Blu-rays of the films that I wanted. They sent me the DVDs of the films that I wanted, even though the invoice of the order specifically states in bold letters, Blu-ray disc. So, what ended up happening, of course, was that everything got re-sent back to me the way it should have been. But, unfortunately for me, two of the films that I wanted are nowhere to be found. And they were both Batman films, and I'll get into those here in a second. What one did I get back? Well, it's one that, if I can only have one, it's arguably the best one to have. The one based on the Frank Miller definitive origin story and the greatest comic origin story ever told of all time, Batman Year 1. Heck to the freaking yeah. If you're disappointed with Batman Begins because you're like, it had most of the elements of the Batman Year 1 story, but there were a lot of changes they made and it wasn't a perfect adaptation, DC Universe to the rescue. Because this was like, they took the graphic novel and said, okay, there's your script, go make a movie. And they made one heck of a film. Let me tell you. It is absolutely amazing. I literally sat and cheered out loud. Like the mark that I am for all things Batman when I saw this film. And Benjamin McKenzie went from that kid from the OC to one of the best Batman voices ever. Just gave me chills. Particularly the scene. Of course, I don't want to give too much away because I'm going to do a full review on this and everything we're going to look at here today. But the particular scene that gave me chills was the one where Batman comes out of the smoke and he's like, from this moment on, none of you are safe. That was epicness. And then the other one, of course, was when Gordon lays waste to, what's his name? Can't think of his name, overlay there on your screen, but the dirty cop that he turns in the story. So, yeah, that was just an amazing, amazing experience, but as is the normal case, and you figured it out by now, just by looking at it. Whenever you do a massive order online, likelihood is you're not going to get your beautiful slipcases, and I didn't for any of the DC Universe animated films. And you've probably also figured out by now that the ones that I ordered that I don't have, that I can't find anywhere, are Batman Under the Red Hood and Batman Gotham Knight. So if anybody out there knows where I can find them, if they have a store in their town that has them, or they have a eBay seller that they know they can go through that has them, please contact me and let me know, because Best Buy was nice. They just gave me money on a prepaid card, so I do have all the money back that would be necessary to make the purchases. I just don't know where to find the films. So I don't have them yet, but I will have it in a couple of weeks because that's what they told me they were going to do. So yeah, I can find the films. If I can find them, just don't know how to find them. But yeah, that is Batman Year 1. Absolutely freaking fantastic review to come, for sure. Then, if we're going to do the Green Lantern universe, we got to start right from the very proper beginning. And the film that is based on the best Green Lantern origin story of all time. And the one that true fans know matters the most, Green Lantern Rebirth. And of course I'm talking about Green Lantern First Flight. Now this is one that I have seen several times over since the first time I saw it on Cartoon Network and absolutely fell in love with it. However, it was obviously one that I didn't own just yet, so I was so thrilled to finally fix that, because this follows the Rebirth story to a T and is an absolutely perfect film and blows the live action film out of the water. So yeah, more on that definitely to come, but Green Lantern First Flight, absolutely superb. And then this past summer in 2011, Green Lantern fans were treated to a film in the DC Universe animated story arc that follows the story arc of the two greatest Green Lantern arcs of all time, if you talk to any hardcore fans. Mainly Sinestro Corps and the Blackest Night Saga. And of course I'm talking about Green Lantern Emerald Knights. This was absolutely fantastic. It tells the story just as the Emerald Knights comic adaptation does of several of the Green Lanterns and just why they're so epic and why every Green Lantern has his day. No matter what you're faced with, no matter how your courage is tested, every Green Lantern worth his salt has the ability to rise up above and learn from every battle that they face. So this, again, tells some of the most iconic origin stories for all of the other Green Lanterns. Everybody knows about how he came to be, but this one tells the story of all of the other iconic members of the Green Lantern Corps, and does an absolutely perfect job of it at that. And not only that, but it has Green Lantern, the most, Hal Jordan that is, the most perfect voice choice ever in the history of the character. Mr. Firefly himself, Nathan freaking Fillion. How fantastic is that? I love it. So yeah, Green Lantern Emerald Knights, yet more perfection from Jeff Johns and Bruce Timm. And then of course, if I was going to pick up the two DC Universe animated films, I could not pick up the Green Lantern live action film extended cut. Now, this is really good. Well, not really good. This is very good. Very would be more appropriate. Really is stretching it way too far. The biggest problem that this adaptation of Green Lantern suffers from is that they tweaked the origin story. Jeff Johns was involved in it, and so it's not terrible. But they tweaked the origin story enough to where they could make it more like a setup for a film franchise. Meaning that instead of Sinestro, right from the very get-go, as the real antagonist to Hal, they went with Parallax, which is a story that actually came before Green Lantern Rebirth and set up how Green Lantern Rebirth happened. And in the comics, it works. But in the film, for it being an origin story, they had to take a little bit of liberties with it. However, once you get past both that and the fact that they made terrible casting choices, with the exception of the main four characters. Hal Jordan, because let's face it, they were going for a younger version of Hal here. So I don't have a problem with Ryan Reynolds. I think Ryan Reynolds has a nice little hold on who Hal Jordan is supposed to be. Is he as good as Nathan Fillion? No, but he has a good hold on the character. Mark Strong as Sinestro. Jeffrey freaking Rush, heck yeah, as Tom Mori. And Michael Clark Duncan as Kilowog. A lot of people had a major problem with Michael Clark Duncan as Kilowog because he was cast at the last minute. But even knowing that after the fact, because I didn't know it until after I saw the film, but I learned it from my good friend Civilian Snowman, Jack. However, the good choices in casting stop there, because you look at it and you're like, everyone else in the film, they don't even look like they're in the same age group. Other than that, I thought O was fantastic, and for the origin story they had to tell, they did a pretty darn good job with it. And the extended cut, even though it only adds about 10-15 minutes to the film, adds enough to the film to make it better. But I won't say any more about it because as all of these, I am going to do a full review on the film. The one thing I do want to do is give a shout out to Robbie Webster. Robbie W. Webster on YouTube. I'm sure everybody that watches me is subscribed to Robbie Webster, but if you're not, go and check him out. Great guy. But the reason that I want to address him in closing on this one is because he also picked up the Green Lantern extended cut. And when he was talking about it in his recent update, he said the biggest problem that he had with it was too much CGI and that Hal was not in a suit. Ryan Reynolds is Hal, that is, was not in a suit the entire time. And normally, Robbie, I would say you're 100% right. Overuse of CGI, I hate it. If something should be done practically, it should. However, I just want to give you some food for thought, because if you know anything about the Green Lantern world, the suits aren't physical suits. They're supposed to be generated from the ring and generated from pure energy. And each Green Lantern suit is supposed to be different for each Green Lantern and their personality and the way they do things. So, in actuality, a CGI suit is what you need to do in order to be able to show off those nuances and differences in the suit. So, yeah, not necessarily calling you wrong or trying to change your mind there, buddy. Just wanted to give you some food for thought. And yes, I do also want to tell Clinton Cynical 44, because I know you're watching. I told you in comments, but I want to say it again. I'm really jealous of the Steelbook edition that you got of this, the Best Buy exclusive Steelbook. I wish I would have known that it existed. And if we're going to dedicate an episode to Zarin Isaac, we might as well end it like a crossover and say, that is it from me to you for now, folks. So until next time, thanks for watching. And this is reality according to the Razman. And Razman style, it's not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.